Hey guys, welcome to my channel and welcome to my personal life actually. This channel has been dedicated for games mostly, but I have been coding in like my personal device, and I thought just let's just create a GitHub repository and let's just code over there. It's like actually easy to code actually. Like in case of weekends, I'll be only posting these live streams on weekends, so I will not be performing in weekdays because I don't really want to be a hindrance in my work. Like, this is my free time. This is what I do in my free time. So, yeah, let's get started. We will be creating an Angular project. And for that, I think you guys actually need to install Node.js. Currently, I don't have any Node.js. Oh, I do have Node.js. Okay, great, great. So, in case you guys don't have Node.js with you installed, you can simply download and install it from here. Remember to download the LTS version. LTS stands for long-term support. Uh, Here, like, what is a Node.js? Node.js is nothing but a free and open source cross-platform that helps you run JavaScript outside of your browser, outside of your browser engine. So what happens with JavaScript is JavaScript was first introduced to run basically on the browser to render some kind of programmatic software. So yeah, as I was saying, JavaScript was first introduced to render some kind of like engine, like some kind of interactivity with the websites. So yeah, yeah. Well, Node.js when it came to picture, Node.js made sure that JavaScript could be run anywhere. And with Node.js, you'll also have some of the additional facilities that comes into Node.js. However, we will not be coding Node.js HTTP server or anything. We will not be writing tests, will not be writing stream pipelines, will not be working with threads or anything such as that. We will simply focus on Angular. Now, Angular is a front-end framework. Angular will only run on browser, and therefore the Node.js scripts that we will be writing over there will be only be applicable for the browser. So that's what we're gonna do. Angular is a front-end framework. You guys all know that. So in case you don't know that, here's the information. Okay. So and one more thing is, why do we need Node.js then? Because Node.js comes with a package system called npm, that is Node Package Manager. And in Node Package Manager, we will be like, with the help of Node Package Manager, we will be installing Angular. So yeah, in case you have Node.js installed, let's get started. I'll open Visual Studio Code. Okay, so as you see, I do not have any kind of folder created over here. So I need to make a repository. So for that, I will be using GitHub Desktop. In case you don't have GitHub Desktop, you can simply create it. Okay, so anyway, create a new repository. Let's give it E-Kart or whatever name you feel like. Angular 18. Okay, so make sure if you guys use spacing over here, it will be created like this. Okay, it will be giving a hyphen over there. So what is eCard? A demo project to to instantiate a project management workflow. And I think that's the particular that would suffice for us since it's a demo project. Okay, so local path, would it be okay? So I'm currently storing in this particular path. If you want, you can do it on your own. So you can change the path and perform on your own. Initialize a repository with a README. I want that. Okay, license. I want. I guess MIT license would be sufficient for this. Git ignore. What type of git ignore do I need? Do I need a VS Code git ignore? Mm, okay, we'll make the git ignore along the way. And there are some default git ignores the present over here. And I think node, yeah, node, I found node. Okay, great. So I will be creating this repository. Publish your repository to GitHub. Yeah, I do want to publish my repository, but before doing so, I will be opening a Git repository. Where do have I created? Here, yeah, this particular folder. So as you see, now I have opened the Git repository in my VS Code, and I will be publishing this repository to GitHub. Keep this code private? No, I do not want to keep this on private. I want to share it with you guys. In case you want to take my code, you can keep from there, take from there. So yeah, publish repository. Okay. So now I don't think I will be needing GitHub Desktop anymore. Since Git is already installed over there, I can simply control the files from here. The source control from Visual Studio Code. So anyway, we'll open the terminal over here. New terminal. It will automatically open the terminal in whichever directory we are currently residing. Okay. I mean, whichever workspace, whichever folder the VS Code is currently residing. In this case, it is E-Kart Angular 18. And we obviously will be creating a new project. Before creating a project, let me just see the command. Okay, let me check if Angular is present. For me, Angular, which version is it in? Is it installed? It is installed. Okay, 17. Angular 17 is installed for me. So I'll just install Angular 6.18. Okay, so in case you have installed Node.js, make sure you run node-v to check if Node has been successfully installed and is accessible through your command prompt. Once you have done that, you have to use npm install at the rate angular slash CLI at the rate latest hyphen hyphen save and hyphen global. What this does is it will save it in your global repository and I mean global node package in the folder, and it will install the latest version of Angular. So if in case you want to install the latest version, you can do this. I, however, want to install the version 18. So this will make sure that you have Angular CLI ready in your device. Okay. So now how to check? NGV. NG stands for Angular. Okay. NGV. V stands for version. Angular npm uninstall Angular at the rate Angular CLI with 17.3.3 npm. Sorry, ngv. Now I have 18 installed on my device. Okay, so let's just get started. I'll you have to perform ng new, but ng new dist. Ng new dist, not that dist. Angular output path. Okay. Ng build E-Kart output path, right? Yeah, output path dot. Now this will make sure this command is not available when running as not ng build, sorry, ng new. Angular ng new. What this does? Let me see. Ng name options. Okay, options. Name of the argument. Value type string. Options. Value type boolean. Create application. Defaults. Directory. The directory name to create the workspace in. Ng E-Kart directory. Local applications new workspace. You can create an arguments name. Defaults directory. Is equal to dot. Directory. Alright. Hyphen directory. Ng cart hyphen directory is equal to dot. Which style sheet would you like to use? I will be using SCSS, although CS you can apply, you can use CSS. The thing between SCSS and SAS of indented is that it's a superscript of style, SCSS, which means if you write plain old SCS, plain old CSS in SCSS, it will still work. So it's just an abbreviation I use as for SCSS in case I want to use any kind of advanced features that comes with SCSS. But you can choose CSS actually. It's not a big deal. So do you want a server-side rendering and static site generation? No, I do not. Okay, schematic input does not validate against the schema. Name a card. Okay, okay, sorry. No third brackets. Okay, so what kind of SCSS? No. Merge conflict verb and on readme. Okay, I will delete that then. You know what? Let me just CLS it and then do it. I want SCSS. No. Git ignore. Okay, you're also changing git ignore. Okay, I'll remove git ignore as well. Cool. I want SCSS. No. Ah, it started creating. So at the moment, what it is doing right now is it is installing the node package manager. I mean, it is installing the node packages that is required to run this Angular application. And once it has installed it, I will be able to run it successfully. So yeah, I think I need to add the git ignore. I don't need to add the git ignore because it will automatically do it for me. Yeah, it has already made the git ignore for me. As you see, the node modules have been omitted over here. And let me refresh this. Okay, what was the terminal? Terminal, new terminal. Let me delete this terminal. It's still installing. Okay. Package JSON is updated. Okay, great. Directory is already under version control, skipping initialization of Git. Okay. Mm, yeah. So in case this line doesn't come for you, it means you have not initialized a Git repository, so it will create it for you. Okay. Acha. So now what I have to do is I have my like whatever source code I need to explain to you guys what each and every file does over here. Okay. This .vs code is a folder that has been created in VS Code only. In case you're using some other text editor, this won't be created. Okay, so this VS Code is solely applies to the Visual Studio Code only, this particular folder. Next, we have node modules. Node modules, node module stores all the packages and third-party libraries that is required to run this particular application. Whenever we are using any kind of, whenever we are installing any kind of third-party library, we will need to install it via npm install or ng install. Depends if it is an Angular library or depends if it's not. Like say for example, Bootstrap. Bootstrap is not an Angular library, so we don't need to do that. However, if you use Angular Material or NGRX or Angular NGRX or Angular Signal Store, that time we do need to use ng install the library name. But for this instant, we have to use npm I. Now the thing is, whatever libraries and third parties come under us would be stored in this particular node modules folder. As you see, uh, when I open this node modules folder, you see a bunch of libraries over here. This is nothing but all those libraries that are required to run this Angular project. Now, you may say that what happens if I say for example, why is this under git ignore? If it is under git ignore, it will not be published in the Git library, right? Exactly. So what happens is if another developer downloads your code, they will not be getting the node modules with it. What they have, so for example, I have deleted this code. I have deleted this folder. I do not have access to this folder. I only have this whatever things I've got from GitHub. I only got these files from GitHub, and I don't have no the actual libraries that comes from Angular. So what I do need to do is I have to run a command, and it will install all the packages that is required to run this Angular project. And how would the Angular application know what packages is to install? It will look into package.json and it will see all the dependencies that is required to run this project. Whether it is normal dependencies to run the project or whether it is dev dependencies for us as developers to use it as a language. What I mean is, say for example, I got this project and I want to install all the libraries that comes with this project and is required to run this project. So for that, what I'll do is I'll simply write npm install or npm I. It'll install all the files, all the libraries, all the third-party libraries that is required for us to run the project, and it will store it in node modules again. So as you see, we have added 952 packages and audited them in 12 seconds as well. And node modules folder has been created for us to store it. Next, we have public folder. Public folder resides all the resources that you need, all the pictures, all the media files, everything that is required to run, uh, to add, entertainment in your project file in your website. Say for example, you need to show a picture. Say for example, you need to show like a load of music. All those resources that you need will be stored in the public folder. Next, we have src folder. Src stands for source code. Whatever information, whatever data we'll be writing over here, whatever code we'll be writing over here will be stored in the src folder. Okay, so in this src folder you will see a bunch of files: the app folder, the index.html, main.ts, style.css. All these things are in the src folder. We'll come to this, but let's just jump on as of now. Now, editor config. What is that editor config? Editor config tells your Visual Studio or any kind of text editor to know what type of indentation or what type of TypeScript, you know, um, syntax, or it's not syntax actually, what type of in Python we have indentation, right? Similarly in TypeScript, when we format our code, what type of configuration would be used to configure and format that particular piece of code has been stored in the editor configuration. This is certainly useful when you use when the project has been is being created by a lot of developers, and you want to make sure that all your code looks proper. At least as a developer, when I see the code of another developer, I don't get confused seeing that, oh, what type of gibberish has the person written. So that's why editor config comes into picture. Next, we have Git attributes. Like it is a GitHub file. If you're familiar with GitHub, you'll already know what it does. It basically auto detects the text files and normalizes them accordingly. So it does this automatically. It formats the code based on GitHub actually in GitHub repository, and we don't really need this. If we want to delete it, we can. Git ignore. If you are familiar with GitHub again, you already know what this is, but I'll still explain. In case you are familiar with Bitbucket, also that also fine. Azure directories also that also fine. But anyway, I'll just let you know. In case we are, let's say for example, pushing our code to the GitHub, that time if we want to ignore any kind of files or folders, that time git ignore comes into picture. Next we have is Angular JSON. Now Angular JSON stores all the configuration, like say for example the project type, the schematics of your project, the name of your project, the say for example what type of styles does it use, what type of scripts does it need to load, or whatever configurations or budgets it is having. What is the environment of the development, what is the environment of the production, all these type of configuration it stores. Even in case of testing mode, let's in Angular we have something called Angular testing, Angular unit testing. We'll not be delving into this particular live stream, but I'm just saying those configurations also stored in Angular JSON. So every hooks and crannies of Angular project, that is all the configuration related uh, data is stored in angular.json. Next, we have a GitHub desktop related file, a license, MIT license, which states what the software permission or like whatever feels free to open source of license we have. In case we do not have any open source, if we want to close this particular source, if we want to make this particular library a private repository, and if we want to take a license from other company, then we will replace this license with that. An open source project has a lot of license, and one of which is MIT license. So I'm using MIT license for this. This license file is not been created by Angular. I have created this. Package.json is a quick way for package.json to work actually. So it logs the files, whatever has been stored in the previous version, and installs it immediately. In case you do not have package.json, it will take the files from package.json and create the package.json immediately. README has been modified. README is the basic description of what your GitHub repository for this particular project will look like. I'll Once I push the code, you'll be able to see how the GitHub repository looks like for this. And all these three files are the configuration for TypeScript as to how the compilation would take place. Now, when I say compilation, I mean actual compilation, because in JavaScript there is no such thing called compilation. It directly runs on your browser. We in Angular we don't really use JavaScript. We mostly use TypeScript. And what TypeScript does is it uh, strict the is a strictly typed it makes JavaScript a strictly typed language, which means the probability of getting an error through mismatching its type is now eliminated with TypeScript. How? We can specify a particular type to an object, and in case it violates that type by inserting into some other object, it will be throwing an error. We define and we configure, we strict the type of an object to make sure we get the first of all we get the auto suggestion, and next we ensure its type is strictly safe so that we don't come under any kind of mismatching of the type. That's how. And once we are sure that this particular type is valid or invalid, it will be compiling all those files, add some important libraries, and then your Angular application would run. So tsconfig files helps your TypeScript code to compile successfully. So if in case you want to make this a JavaScript file, in case you want to make Angular and Angular JS, you have to delete all those files because it uses TypeScript to, and it is using these files to compile it your JavaScript code. I mean TypeScript code into JavaScript and then re-render it. Okay, enough chit chat about the folder structure. Let's dive into the code at first. Okay. So when I open the source code, that is the SRC folder, I see four files. I'll go to the folder next. First let's see the index.html. The index.html is a very small HTML file that has HTML head, body, and this is a simple HTML tag. And under this, we see a strange thing called app/root. I'll come to what app/root is, but first I need to say that whenever we are loading the Angular application, the first thing that will render in the template, that is in the DOM, is the index.html. And with the help of TypeScript or basically JavaScript in the browser, it will render and de-render the components accordingly. Now, what is this app root? App root is nothing but a selector. A selector, sorry, app root is nothing but a selector for the root component. That is the main app component. Now, how do we know that app root is the selector? Let's go to the app folder, app component.ts, selector, app hyphen root. So when I say that app hyphen root in the HTML tag, it means that it automatically selects the selector and renders it into a particular component, redirects it into a particular component. And which HTML will load? Whatever the template URL of the selector is. This is the selector app root. For this selector, the template URL is app component.html. So this particular HTML will load. And here you see a style block and all these HTML are there. We won't be needing this, but let's just run your project and see what it prints. Okay. So how to run your project? Well, you can run your project by ng-serve. This will host your project into a particular port. If you want to configure the port, you can simply say port is equal to and then write your port over here. By default, it directs to 4000. Port 4000 is the default Angular hosting port. Okay, so ng-serve directly hosts your Angular project locally. However, to open it, you have to go to your browser and open it there manually. So let me show you. Okay, so let's see what it did. It first compiled our code and then it injected these JavaScript files and this CSS file into our index.html. That is this index.html. You see, there is no CSS file injected over here, and there are obviously there are no scripts injected over here. It did it dynamically. Okay, whenever we are serving the project, that time it dynamically injects the two JS files and one CSS file. So now the application has been hosted and it is hosted in local host 4200. Sorry, my bad. Angular locally hosts in 4200 port. Okay, so let's follow the link over here. And this is our default Angular project template. Now, all this HTML, all these buttons and everything, all these links of these buttons, where does it get the value? Let's inspect it. Whenever we inspect the code, let's just view source for this code. Okay. If we view source of this code, we see there's a polyfills JavaScript file that has been injected into it. Main.js has been injected it as a module, and styles.css has been injected to it. So we saw this in the terminal that these were getting injected, but the app root stays here same. What page source shows you is the basic template of the HTML file. However, whenever we say app root, it dynamically renders the content inside that selector. So it won't show in the page source. However, it will show in the inspect mode. So let's jump into the inspect mode, shall we? So let's jump in the mode. I will be opening this in a separate window. Okay. So as you see, there is not much difference in the HTML. There's an HTML head, body, an app root over here, polyfills main.js, and inside the head there is like the C styles.css has been injected. However, this app root is having all the code that we just watched. This app root selector is rendering app component.html, and in this app component HTML, all our HTML and CSS resides. So let's open the app root DOM element, like the HTML element. Let's expand it. Here we have the main div tag, and everything is there. Some kind of other div tags, all those anchor tags. Let's see the same thing if it has over here or not. You see, there are a lot of div tags over here. A lot of SVGs, the div tags, and the anchor tags. So one thing is clear: whatever is present inside the angle app component or HTML, the same thing is being printed in the HTML. That is nothing but the content below is only a placeholder that can be replaced. Delete the template below to get started with your project. And this, the content above the placeholder can be replaced. Okay. So these particular lines could be replaced. So let's replace it. Let's replace this code. This router outlet also I'll delete it. As of now, I'll just comment it because I think okay, let's just delete it only. Okay. So I'll just say simple thing that is, I'll just give it a div and yeah, app root works. Okay. I'll save the changes and let's see our terminal. See, when our application got hosted in the local mode, it also said one thing: watch mode enabled, watching for file changes. So what it did is when I saved my code, a file changed happened, and this particular watch mode detected the file change, and that's why it re-rendered the application again. Which means if I go to the browser and I check for the application, it will automatically render it for me, and I will see AppRoot work. Don't believe me? Let's just see it. See, AppRoot works. We didn't even need to refresh it. We just did a simple file change and it did all the work for us. So without any further ado, let's just create something and let's just create something. Yeah, I'll give it a basic template. Okay, one more thing is, uh, in case you want to show some of the values of the variable, let's say for example, this is TypeScript. Okay, this is not JavaScript. We're importing the component from this particular library. We're importing the router outlet from this particular library. Let's say we want to let this type. What is the type of the variable? This type of the variable is string. Okay. So in case I want to, let's say this is a class, right? App component is a class. Let's create a constructor for the class. Okay. And one more thing is, similarly, like the constructor in Angular, we have something called on init, ng on init. What it does is, whenever the component renders into the template, not the class, okay? Whenever the component gets rendered in the template, it will perform a certain action. Let's say we have we are de-rendering it from the app component and then rendering it again. That time it will again create the if it, I mean that time it will again invoke the ng on init method. So let's implement it. Implements on init. Okay. Now it's giving us an error. You see, class app component incorrectly implements interface on init. Property ng on init is missing in type app component but is required in the type on init. So let's like on the basic gist of it, we know that it is missing a property named ng on init. So let's hover over the problem. Incorrectly implements on init. Quick fix. Implement interface on init. I implemented it. Let's implement the method. Title is equal to E-Kart. I'll just remove this line. Also declare it over here. Title is a string. Public. Title has no initializer and is definitely assigned in and is not definitely assigned in. Okay, let's just keep ng on it blank as of now. All imports are unused. Ah, we are not using it anywhere. Okay, so in our app component, nothing is there. That's why it's printing nothing. But we are not getting any kind of error. We have this title over here. Now, this title is a variable, is a string variable that is currently reciting the value E-Kart. Let's print this value. How would I print this value? In case you want to show any value that is residing in the app component.ts, we use something called string interpolation. How do we use string interpolation? Is we provide string interpolation is a method, is a way, is a like a fundamental concept of Angular to render objects inside the template from its component. Component basically means TS file. So it renders the template from the component. So whatever value is present in the component will be rendered in the template that is in the HTML file. So how do we do that? We give second bracket and there we write out code. So let's say if I print hello plus world, this would show us hello world. Okay. Similarly, this particular piece inside double second brackets, we will have to write some of the code. And one of the interesting fact is that we can write the code for our component as well. So if I write this dot title, it will show the title over here. Okay. I've increased the font size. I've increased the browser rendering size to 500% so that you can see it better. So this dot title is showing us the title. Okay. Now let's actually create something out of thin air. So for that, what I'll do is, first I need to install Bootstrap. Bootstrap 5. How do we do that? How do we do that? Yeah, close it, npm install Bootstrap at the rate 5. Okay, we have installed Bootstrap. Let's see if Bootstrap is installed or not. Bootstrap, Bootstrap. Here you go. Bootstrap. Bootstrap SCSS. Um, where's the Bootstrap SCSS file? Helpers, utility vendor, utilities make sense. Alert forms, accordion, bootstrap.scss. Cool. So what I have to do is I close this, and inside inside angular.json, we have to import this style. SCSS, bootstrap.scss, copy path, node modules. Oh, okay, so whatever forward slash we have over here, we have to replace this, the forward slash, with a backward slash. So let's replace the first one, second one, third one. Done. Okay, so Bootstrap has now been installed and then added. I'll re-render I'll watch the Angular application. I'll build it and watch it. Sorry, not ng watch, ng serve. And one interesting fact is, let's say for example, we want to open the application as soon as it is posted. So for that, what we'll do is we give it a parameter open or O, in short O. So I'll give hyphen O. Press enter. It's building the project, and once it's built, it'll inject it and it'll open it automatically for us. So E-Kart has been created. Let's see if Bootstrap has been injected or not. Body, uproot, polyfills. Okay, in the head, styles.css. Oh, yeah, here you see Bootstrap. Bootstrap CSS has been added. BS info, BS primary, BS secondary, all these things have been added over here. So we don't need to worry about it anymore. We'll simply be using Bootstrap in our application. So let's do that. Let's go to Bootstrap again, and from one of its content, we'll just take an example. There's a newer version of Bootstrap. Customize, normal as layout, content, breakpoints, buttons, examples. Yeah, there are. Snippets, headers, simple header, inspect mode. I'll check this particular method. Scroll down. I'll copy this. Copy. copy our HTML, paste it, save it, close it. Our application has rendered this. A simple header. Instead of simple header, we'll be showing our title. This dot title, E-Kart, and home features. All these things we'll be adding later on. Okay, so let's say whenever the application opens, hmm, ah, what are these? These are links. Okay, so these are not buttons. Okay, so once this app navigation file has been, once the nav bar has been loaded, here we want to load the home component, that is this particular component. So let's do that. Inside apps. Oh, one more thing. In case you want to close your Angular application, you have to type Control C. So let's write the code for that. cd source, we'll go inside the source folder. Inside the app folder as well. Yeah, here we can create a new folder called components. And inside the components, oops, inside the components, we can actually, if we want, we can generate a new component, and that component could be loaded inside the app component. So let's name it home component, shall we? Let's just write ng generate component home hyphen app home. Yes, let's just write home. It will automatically create the app hyphen home. But one short trick, whenever you're trying to generate a component or pipe or any kind of thing, make sure you know what aliases are. So for generate, the alias is G. For component, the alias is C. So NGGC home. It will do the trick, trust me. NGGC home. So another component has been created inside the components folder. Let's look into it. So inside the components folder, we have another folder called home folder, and inside the home folder, 4 files have been created. So if you notice in the app folder, whatever files have been created in the home folder, similar type of files is already present in the app. That is, we see home.html, we have app.html, app component.html, we have app component SCSS, here we have app component SC, we have home component SCSS, here we have app component SCSS, we have home component spec.ts, here we have the same thing with app, and here we have app component ts, same thing with the app component.ts. Now this spec file, since we are not using any kind of unit testing, we can, in this particular case, remove it. But make sure you don't remove it when in the production, okay? Because there will be some unit testing involved. Apart from that, we also have two other files in the app folder. There is app config and app route. App route will be used for routing in your Angular project. Routing means rendering additional component if required by the click of a button or a URL. You see in Netflix, whenever we go inside Netflix, let me launch Netflix for you. So if I open Netflix, if I click on this app, this particular icon, it won't re-render my page. It will
My
simply
name is
load the app
Walter Hartwell
page.
White.
If I go to movies, it will
This
change the
is how it
title.
goes, Ethan. Soon, an associate of mine is going to step in.
Uh, it will change the. It will not. It will change the URL. It will change the title, but it will not load the image. However, if we go to say, for example, Let me open some kind of application that doesn't use Angular internally or any kind of single page application internally. How do I do that? How do I do that? How do I do that? Let's visit this particular application. I mean, this particular web app. Oh, this also uses Angular internally. Wow, they've really upgraded Miniclip. Like I'm opening Miniclip after a very long time actually. I used to play games, Flash games when Flash was on the market. I used to play that game, those games in Miniclip. Okay, so this particular application is still loading. Okay, so let's say for example I want to play this game. I'll click on it. Okay, not like this. Ah, you see this loading icon has changed. That means it is loading the page. That means it is not it single page application. If it wasn't a single page application, this would have happened. You see, this particular icon didn't load, which means it didn't refresh the page. That means it is rendering its content inside. It is refreshing a smaller piece of area in its page and showing it to us. That means the application is still intact. We are not rendering the entire page. And that makes a user believe that the application is fast. This is the sole reason we are learning Angular actually. So, yeah, enough theoretical knowledge. Routing does the same thing. Whenever we clicked on a button or whenever we clicked on any kind of link, it redirected to a similar scene towards us, but the application did not refresh. That's what routing was over there. Okay. And appconfig.ts, it is nothing but some configuration for your first application to load, and it provides a route for itself, and it also makes sure that it's able to detect the changes in your application state. We will not be delving much in the application config files, so let's just work what we needed as for now. We have home component, home SCSS, and home component.ts. So in case I want to render this home component, we need to use its selector in our app component. What is its selector? The selector is what we can find in the home component.ts file. So in the home component.ts file, we see this selector app-home. And what is this actually? This is nothing but a decorator. Component is a decorator. What is a decorator? Decorator marks a class as an Angular component. I mean, the component decorator marks the class as an Angular component. And by definition, decorators are nothing but some uh, like decorators add metadata or add information towards your properties, fields, or class names. Here it does for class name. It says that this particular class will be used as a component. We will mark this as a component with these types of selectors. And what are the selectors? I mean, these type of selectors, it will be a standalone component. It will render this particular HTML. It will use this kind of CSS. And where does it CSS come from? The home component.scss. So all these things, all these metadata of these things of the class will be present in the add component decorator. Inside app component decorator, it takes an object. This object, you can create this object inside a variable and pass the variable over here as well. But it's not doing such that over here. You are just using it directly. So yeah, enough about app component decorator. I think you already got the gist. So I'll jump to the HTML file over here and it is working as expected in the code. So we'll use the selector app-home, copy, and we'll use it over here. So now it's showing me an error is that app home is not a known element. Why we do not know app home is because app component does not know the home component. Home component is a standalone component. It stands on its own. Similarly, app component also stands on its own. But they do not know each other. We have to make sure that they know each other. We have to import a home component in its metadata. So what we will do is here in this import section, we will be providing home component. So now that I did that, here you see the error is gone because now it has imported the knowledge of using home component. So whenever it will see app-home, it knows to look at which file because whatever files list was there, app it wasn't finding a particular selector that has app-home. So now that it has home component, it will be able to redirect app-home into the home component. And this is the reason it was earlier it was showing that app home is not a known element. Now it knows the element because we have imported in its metadata. That's why it is able to redirect. I hope this is clear. So now what we will see after the navigation bar, we will see home, this particular app home component that is home works. So let's just see if my analogy is correct or not. NGS-O. The alias for serve is S, so NGS-O. If you know the shortcuts, it makes your coding life very easy, to be honest. Home works. Great. Okay. Yeah, it's coming properly. Also, one more thing. Inside app component, we don't want a container. Yeah, we want this to be like that. Or we could, we could, we actually could use a container class of name. So in that way, this also aligns with this. Great, great. Okay. Now what we will do is in the app component HTML, here we can actually add a class deflex justify. Great. We can also give something like BG success, BG light, and for the container I'll also give BG light. For the container, I have to give it for SCSS body background color is variable bg hyphen light. BS light, okay, not BG light. BS body BG. it already assigns a color to it. Okay, I'm not gonna make this an important one because this is not really important for me. But I would have loved it if it did the thing that I wanted it to do. Okay. Home. Inside home, let's create a service. Should I create service? Not service, services. Services. MD services. ng generate service product. Okay. I don't need the spec file. Product service.ts. Inside product service, we have to import the um, we have to import the HTTP client, private HTTP client, HTTP get product configurations, page API, URLs, export fonts, fake API URLs. Here we will use fake store API. Get all product. Get all products. शिवशङ्कर पार्वती चन्द्रचूड शिव शङ्कर पार्वती नमः Get all products, acidic starch minerals. Get all categories, returning observable the string array, getting string array, okay, handling array, okay. Get product specific category. Get category products. Category products. Category products. Observable. I product array. Get all products, get product categories. Let কি বলো? হুম, মাখো, মেখো, ভাত।
चंद्रचूर शिव शंकर पार्वती चंद्रचूर शिव